you very much for having me. Don't thank me yet.
You have the right to remain silent.
Is it finished?
Yeah, I just saw your character expired.
It's on TV. Do you have a single fact to back that up?
You know, this is the one where you think you're funny.
You understand me?
I think you need to go get a dictionary.
Casing came from.
What a weird thing to say.
There's one just sitting on the table over here. And there's usually an origin story behind each thing on the table, but
Yeah.
I can't remember where that one came from.
Well,
I mean, I didn't use it on anybody that I remember.
it's also a really weird thing to say.
I haven't admitted to anything.
I didn't say you did.
I wouldn't bring attention
Why don't
to
you
it
talk to the
otherwise.
obvious about the obvious thing in the room?
The bullet casing?
Your bald head.
Oh, well, the barber kind of fucked up, so I had
He
to
was
fix
the
it.
barber.
I was the second barber, the better barber,
Okay.
the one that knew exactly what they wanted to do.
He asked me to come in and fix it for him.
Seems healthy
What seems healthy?
to give it a reset
Oh,
up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I mean,
It's like mowing the grass every week. Sometimes you just gotta take it down.
down
Let-
to the bare roots.
Let everything breathe a little.
I did everything minus plucking the hairs out of my skull.
Right. Yeah, we were getting there. We were getting
But
close.
my razor wasn't really doing the trick once I really got into the thick of it up there. I actually had some thick spots up there that I didn't realize.
Yeah. You got a couple thick areas.
Yeah, but thanks for your help with that.
Yeah, no problem.
Got
So
that done in no time.
second
That
obvious
super
thing,
razor you brought in.
your, yeah, my 4-year-old. I don't even know what you would want to call it.
Damn, look at me. I look like I belong in Top Gun 3
What are you wearing sunglasses for again? Was that a
because it's
That's
too
just a
fucking
choice.
bright in here and it hurts my eyes.
you vampire?
We were gonna watch a
We were
vampire
gonna watch-
movie tonight
What a segue.
for no reason
Yeah.
other than did we have a reason?
No, not really.
I just
I don't
kind
think
of
so.
felt like it. I felt like a vampire movie.
Yeah.
What's your favorite
Vampire movie?
well, I guess that's another question, but I was gonna say, what's your favorite like creature movie? Like, is it a werewolf movie, a Frankenstein
Creature
movie,
movie?
a mummy movie?
You know what I know this sounds super odd. But when I think of a creature movie, obviously there's like many different terminologies and whatnot, like with a creature movie. And it all kind of depends on what genre I guess you're talking about. But like any creature movie, I don't know, like horror is pretty specific on like what type of creatures you're getting. And I don't find it like interesting. The things that I find interesting are like otherworldly, and not in the sense that it like has to be an alien, but it's just like a creature that you don't see in the daily life, what in your daily life, whether it's like, you know, from a book or wherever. But like one movie that I always like, I'm just kind of like, oh man, it's just fun. It's like one of those fun movies just to visually see, was Pan's Labyrinth. I just thought that movie was just fun to me, just because it's so unique and like you're not seeing any of this type of stuff.
I've never seen it, but I've seen scenes of it.
Yeah.
And I know I can see what you mean.
Yeah, it's just like super interesting, and like the creature work in that just kind of like just like top tier. The actor who played I don't remember. I think it's just called a faun, like Pan, like the weird horned guy. Doug Jones, who does like a ton of creature work. If there's a skinny creature on screen that needs like some type of humanoid acting, like he's probably the one who did it. What was that like weird zombie-esque movie that they were like all out in a desert at like a gas station or something? Man,
Was it Resident Evil 3?
No, it wasn't Resident Evils.
That's the only zombie movie in a desert I can think of at the moment.
Anyway, I was trying to think of one where you like maybe seen his face and not realized it's him. But anyway, a lot of his movies, it's like very heavy creature work stuff. So stuff like that, I wouldn't say like there's a specific genre that does it better than the rest. But like movies like Pan's Labyrinth or like well, I kind of want to stick to creature work and not just like go into CG. So there's a lot of stuff that gets like striked out of the list of like, wow, that was cool looking.
Right. It's not like those folklore type monsters with all the backstory already behind them. They're kind of like these original ideas out of the mind of somebody that's got a very interesting mind.
Yeah. So those are the ones that I lean towards.
The Kurt Russell one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just can be anybody it assimilates with.
Right.
And in the process of transitioning from one form or shape or person or creature or animal into another, it looks like this contorted blob of mess, and you see like the intermediary transformation process, and it's fucking freaky and messy and crazy. And that was all like practical effects in that movie for the most part, I guess. There's some like stop motion there at the end, but but anyway, there's interesting monsters or creatures in all kinds of movies that you really don't know what you're in for with that creature, because it's not adhering to any sort of specific rules that are already set, like vampires with the sunlight and the crosses and the, you know, and that's all well and good. I mean, shit, that's what we were going to watch tonight, some kind of vampire movie.
That's actually probably why I like it more, where it's like more of an original creature, because you don't have like these presets that if they get broken, then it's like, ugh. Like, oh, this type of zombie does this.
Because you have to explain, you have to get all those fucking rules across. Like if you're doing a vampire movie, we have to understand like, okay. What kind, or do crosses work or do they not work? The sunlight thing, that usually applies to almost all of them.
Well, it's just like that whatever that movie I was watching the trailer for earlier. I was saying like the mom has like a blood condition that I guess like suppresses her vampirism. And she's going to see like a doctor in America because he can fix her. And then during the flight gets hijacked and she can't take her medicine. And then she gets shot because she's trying to figure something out with her son or something. And the hijackers shoot her. And then she comes back as a vampire. And like part of the scene, one of like the quick cuts to the scene was like her kind of in vampire form, like crawling over the seats towards one of the hijackers, and he's got like a wooden stake in his hands. Like, where did you get a wooden stake on an airplane?
Oh, the Vampire Slayer kit they keep in emergency right next to the 9mm in the riot shield.
I just like it when it's a little bit more exploratory and it's not so like just locked down. And obviously like new creatures can do that. I will tell you one movie that I was just like, man, this is so fun to watch. Which I don't remember the movie title now. Will Smith's in it. It's on Netflix, but he's like a cop and he's paired up with an orc.
King Arthur.
No, King Arthur. What are you talking about?
Or wait, no. What's the name of that movie?
It's like Bright something.
What the fuck? Little Richard. No.
What are you talking about?
Will Smith just came out with a movie. It's called like, it's like some fucking title and then a name. Not King Arthur, not Little Richard.
Are you talking about the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show?
No. Fuck. What the fuck is the name of that Will Smith movie that just came out? God damn it.
Or maybe
it's just driving me crazy.
Oh yeah, it's just called Bright. That's what I was thinking about.
Can we IMDb Will Smith?
Yes.
If it wasn't King Arthur. Okay, it's like a... Oh, what? Oh, this is driving me crazy.
Oh.
He just came out with something that I heard was a good movie. Bear with us, folks.
Yeah, let the...
Now, I Am Legend...
Go on a rampage.
I Am Legend had creatures in it.
Yeah.
Which were...
Well, I wouldn't say creatures.
What were they exactly? They were zombie thingies.
Yeah.
that could. They didn't like daylight.
Right.
They had really big mouths.
Right.
They couldn't get through Will Smith's barricade. He stayed in the bathtub for some reason. That's where he slept. I'm not sure why he didn't sleep in the
It was
bed.
like noise or something, I think. Where do you see his
if we go down to his filmography, The Karate Kid 2. What? There's a Karate Kid 2, a new movie coming out.
Yeah, because
he's
they already did
producing.
the Karate Kid.
There's another fucking Jaden Smith Karate Kid.
Probably if
It's
his,
gonna
if
tie
his dad
into-
has something to do with it, yeah.
Is this gonna tie into Cobra Kai?
What now? What are you talking about here?
Okay, wait. What's the top one? There's a Hancock too.
Well, they're coming. Yes,
Okay, I guess it's down a little bit further. I would have expected it to be
King Richard, right?
King
here.
Richard.
You already said that.
I said King
Oh.
Arthur, and it wasn't
Okay,
little.
It's
Fucking
it's Serena Williams and Venus Williams, the tennis players.
okay.
It's the story about their dad, I guess.
Anyway, what were you saying originally about something completely different? And then I brought up that
Well, you brought up
little Richard. What, King Richard. Fuck.
You brought up I am legend. right?
You were talking about something else, and then I completely just
Yeah, who knows?
turned the car towards
Anyway,
King Richard.
we are talking.
I'm never gonna watch that movie now.
We are tonight, obviously by the title, talking about a little movie called Upgrade.
One of the finest movies
And
of 2018. If you have not seen it,
I will tell you that I was pleasantly surprised. We watched the trailer just to get a feel for it, and Matt had previously watched it. But right after the trailer's over, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is what I want to watch."
I knew after I had seen it, I was like, I wish you were here
Yeah.
because I knew you would like it.
Well, go ahead and kind of explain the deal.
Well, what's really cool is it sort of takes place in its own invented original world. It's like
Yeah.
takes place a little bit in the future, but not
Right.
too far.
Yeah.
And so they're introducing some cool ideas and elements into this world that's interesting to be explored.
I will tell you
There-
one thing that I was unbelievably happy with is that they didn't overshow their hand.
Yeah.
They had, I would say, a borderline genius way of giving you it is the future feelings without just throwing you into, oh, now we have to build a giant CG world to convince
It
people.
was the future in
yeah.
a real subtle and believable way.
Yeah, there was not one time I was like, I didn't feel that, or ooh, that kind of took me out of it. The opening scene is this super generic cityscape, but scattered everywhere, but in the middle you have a handful of main, very futuristic type buildings.
Where all
But
the
it-
money went.
Right, but it wasn't ooh, every building has a future look. No, it was a very realistic version of 50, 100 years from now.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Where it's yes, technology is going to go crazy, and that's kind of what this movie is about. But it's not going to not look like what we know now.
The world felt very
You know?
gritty and lived in.
Yeah,
And the gritty and grimy parts of it felt very real. And then normally when you think of futuristic movies, you might think of very clean and polished.
right.
And the rich areas were sort of that, just like in real life, but
Right.
but a chance to show off all of the more futuristic elements of that.
Right.
And then when you were in kind of the slums,
Right.
the futuristic stuff that you saw was either a police drone overlooking
Yeah.
the shitty ass streets or someone that had a crudely surgical implanted gun in their arm.
I don't know if I'd say crude, but
Well,
was
it
pretty
looked
cool.
all fucking it wasn't all fancy ass
Yeah.
CGI
Yeah.
sci-fi
It was very
with,
practical.
glowing fucking metallic
Yeah.
shininess and blue beams coming out. It was just
Right.
very surgically fucking
Oh yeah.
implanted in someone's arm, like it was a car part or something.
Well, it was very
very mechanical.
yeah,
and,
it was very realistic in that way. It didn't feel like
it's like a ballistics
Yeah.
weapon built into their arm
Yeah.
in a cool,
but everything
believable
think-
way.
almost everything to a certain extent was like practical as it could be. It was just good. I mean, yeah, it just felt correct. It didn't like take you so far out of like reality that it just like started not to make sense, because that's what I mean a lot of things nowadays do that, where they create this world that like obviously is a future version of our world that we live now, but it's like so far removed from today, and this was not that at all.
Yeah.
This like held its like footing and held its own very, very well, bridging the gap between, you know, just a movie that takes place like so far in the future that you just don't like, you can't like latch onto it. I mean, you know, the rich had like, I guess what I would call like my version of like a super Tesla, where like everything was automated. I mean, you could choose to drive the car, but everything was automated and cool, but like they still had gas vehicles. And it, you know, there like even in that chase scene, there were gas vehicles on the road. It wasn't all those, you know, autonomous vehicles. They just kept everything like grounded in a way. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of the world that the movie takes place in, it, like we were talking about, like it was done in just the right way, where it's the backdrop to where the story takes place. It doesn't beat you over the head with it. Things just kind of pass by, or they're, you know, you get the fucking point. But the movie, so this dude has himself an incident that leaves him a quadriplegic, and his wife, you know, even less than that.
What's even less than a quadriplegic?
Not very alive.
Okay. So she's dead.
So I mean, it happens early, so it's not really a spoiler, and it's in the trailer, and it's probably in the fucking description too. So after this dude gets beat up by some gang members and his wife killed, it's kind of like that $1 Million Man thing, gets the chip put in him, which allows him to gain function of his body back, but more so is that the chip speaks to him, at least has a way of transmitting it as voice in his head, and helps him find the people that killed his wife and put him in the quadriplegic chair. And that's just like the surface level description and all you would need to know, but it goes deeper than that.
It allows him to move his body.
Right.
Again.
And without getting spoilery, the ending, without giving anything away, or at least I'm going to try not to, it's done in such a way where it tries to throw a twist in there.
Right.
And when it first threw it at me, I was kind of like,
gosh.
I was like, but then the way it ended, I actually liked it.
So without spoiling it, you're saying if it would have continued with that twist, you wouldn't have liked it?
No, the twist was fine. I just were wondering, like, okay, how are we going to cap this all off?
Right. Because
to complement that twist.
And
I was fine with how it all ultimately wrapped up. I thought it was a really great ending.
The twist for me, the ending was awesome. I would have been just as satisfied with the twist, probably, even without explanation. Part of me would be a little bit angry because it would be like there's no resolution. And the other part of me would be like almost okay with it because of how weird it would have ended that way. It just would have been such a like curveball left field moment. And you're just like, oh, what? You know, and especially if there's no explanation, that would have been like a Shyamalan ending where it was like, whoa, I did not see that coming. at all. And I think that's the only way one of those type of endings is good, when you cannot see it at all. Like, I wouldn't have marked that down for this is how the movie ends.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
didn't-
end that way.
Yeah, like the twist, it's good because you didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Exactly. At least you didn't. I didn't. I had seen the fucking movie and I actually forgot that twist. But that's not to say it wasn't a good twist. But
Right.
when they initially pulled it, I was like, okay, we're kind of hanging in thin air here. How's this gonna
Right.
really wrap up to have a fucking point or an overarching theme of anything?
Yeah.
And the last like minute of the movie, I want to talk about it, but like I really
It's 2008. It's not like we've held back on anything else. Or 2018,
18, but
sorry. Just talk about it.
Okay, so
I don't think you're going to spoil anything for.
the AI was appearing to help him find his wife's murderers, but the AI, what its real like self-aware objective was to get control of the perfect human body. And so it pulled all these strings to get itself created and implemented into this guy that had no prior augmentation or surgical implants of any futuristic shit.
Yeah.
He was just completely 100% like
Pure
whatever,
man. Yeah. Whatever
and it wanted to live inside of his body. And when everything wrapped up without like going through beat by beat of the fucking story, just speaking for the ending,
Yeah.
it does get in, it has his body and it has control of his body where it doesn't even need his permission anymore in order to do anything.
Right.
And at that point, after the main character, it's his fucking name, Gray.
Yeah.
In an attempt to keep it from killing the detective and going on more of a killing spree, he still has some bit of control over it.
Right.
And uses that last little bit of control he has as a human being to shoot himself. But then from what I gathered, in his state of death, the AI did have control of his body still, but allowed his consciousness to be where he wanted to be.
I don't know if it,
And
in
then
his
just,
state of death, not meaning like actually
because
died.
did it like lock him in
No, so the theory behind like what happened is like at the moment a human mind cannot I don't know how you would like articulate this. The point at which a human mind cannot like deal with a situation, it's like when you call somebody broken, like you that like moment broke you. It's like when the mind cannot keep up. I'm butchering how to explain this, but so the idea behind like that whole couple like leading up scenes is, so the AI is taking over his brain, or his body, which includes like brain function. And before the code was put into STEM, when he was trying to get off the grid or whatever, so the code, I guess, that he had written was it took authorization from the user or the human to do things or function whichever way the human wanted him to function, with kind of prodding from him. But when that new code was uploaded, it removed that authorization and then just allowed STEM to control what he wanted whenever. So at that moment, when he's trying to fight STEM is trying to move his arm like to the cop to shoot her. He is trying to move his arm away. And like the idea is the human mind can't compute that because we're not made to compute something that complex ish. So his mind broke and couldn't handle it. And at that point, like that's when someone like goes into an asylum or something. So the idea is then, because his mind broke, STEM could then basically input a scenario or a world, kind of just like the VR which is like a foreshadowing, which was good. But so he basically was in like a self VR world that he, his consciousness is, I guess, is going to live in while Stem runs around and
Yeah, and I thought that
uses
was
his
awesome
body.
because it's
Yeah.
like it's like a favor to the host.
super,
Thank you for letting
yeah,
me use your
super,
body.
super unique.
I'll let you spend the rest of your eternal consciousness
Yeah.
with your wife.
And that's what we thought the ending was.
Yeah,
But
that's
it
what I
didn't,
got from
but
it.
it didn't explain anything of it,
That's just fine.
from
like,
it until the end, and it was just like, oh, he's in a better place and
it,
he's much happier.
it was
or whatever
like
he said.
bittersweet, but I would call it like dark bittersweet,
Yeah.
like dark chocolate.
Yeah, it was-
dark bittersweet was the ending of this
Dark
movie.
chocolate.
So, which
you
you know.
mean normal chocolate?
So but a good ending.
Yeah,
It
was good.
happy endings are usually Fantasyland endings, imaginary endings, not
Yeah.
the way things would really work out. And
Not in a
that
movie
can
like
work
this,
out.
Yeah.
That can work fine if it's done right and believable. But some movies, it's just forced.
Yeah. And this was the only thing I think I'll say, it's not a negative. The only thing I think is kind of like if I overanalyze the movie, there's a lot of underlying like old ideas in the movie. Just like, AI taking over the world, and there's just like a lot of like typical things that are in movies that are in this, I feel. But the way they executed it was just like different level type stuff. It felt like free. You know what I mean? Just the movie was allowed to do what it wanted to do, and it was perfect for that.
It had a good, engaging story.
Yeah.
That you could follow. It wasn't convoluted. It didn't try to be something any smarter than what it was.
Right.
It was just a straightforward like plot,
Right.
but well done, well written, investive. Like you really felt for the guy. They did a really good job at making the dude sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because and he's a good actor too. I think he did a really good job.
Yeah.
So he gets put in the chair, sees his wife die, and he looked like he had the life. He had a nice fucking house. He had a really cool car. He liked building and working on cars, working with his hands. His wife, it looked like they fucking got along and were happy and had this like perfect marriage.
Right.
Big fucking house, which I think I said already.
The movie did a really good job at solidifying
This dude
the
just
fact
like
that
had it figured out, like happy life, no worries, and then this shit happens to him. And then when he was just like, when it just hit him, he had kind of this stone face for the next few scenes after all of this happened, and he's in this chair now, and his wife's dead, and everything's shitty now. And then like when it hit him and his mom hugged him, I was like, oh, that's really fucking sad.
Oh yeah, that was the way they did that was like, because I literally thought to myself, that's exactly how it would be.
Yeah.
Because you don't like, you would process like this whole event in waves, and it would just be devastating when it like hits you. And then he's there just getting his beard trimmed because he can't do it himself, and he just starts crying, and I was like, oh, that's exactly how it would be.
Yeah.
Because you're in this like vulnerable situation to begin with, and then like an even more vulnerable one where like now you need your mom to come back and cut your beard, and it's like, oh yeah, of course that's when it would hit him.
Right. He had built himself up
yeah.
into such the man's man.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
He just has to get pampered the rest of his life.
Right.
He looked like a dude that liked getting out and working out and everything, and now
Right.
he just like can't even fucking move.
He can't do anything.
So yeah, even if you were like a 500-pound person that did nothing but lay on the couch all day anyway, and then you ended up a quadriplegic, and someone came up to you and was like, hey, I have a chip that can make you move your arms and legs again. Even the person that doesn't use them would still want the chip.
Right.
So you can completely get on board with the guy getting the chip. I mean, why not? Fucking, you can walk again and do everything again.
I said during the movie, I was like, if there was a chip like that could just let me listen to music without putting headphones on, I'd do it.
Yeah.
Let alone curing things.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they got the little phones then were just earpieces.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
So that was an interesting take on what phones are going to be one day.
Yeah.
But so this chip, the interesting thing about this movie is there's a whole nother character within the chip that's in Gray, which is so feels weird to like say his name because it's such a strange name.
Yeah, it's a new
I don't
name.
mind it.
It's a new name.
Yeah.
That would be, you know.
We just thought he was saying Greg
Yeah.
or something at first.
That's why I was like, did they say Gray or Greg?
Yeah. So the chip actually talks to Gray.
Right.
And at first it like just freaks him out. Like just wants it to shut up.
Right.
But when he finds out that the chip can help him solve his wife's murder.
Right. The whole situation, basically.
Yeah. Well, that just gets the ball rolling.
Right.
And one of the coolest aspects of this movie is when there's some ass kicking going on.
Oh, yeah.
It's not overdone. Action scenes are short and spread out.
And exactly how you want to film action scenes.
But they're
clear,
damn good
and understandable.
And they only involve maybe 2 people, 3 people. And
it was never too much.
It's so much better to get a scene like that than just some dude running through a warehouse, just pew 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 in everywhere, and guys in black leather jackets just flipping over
like
rails,
smacking people once and then they die somehow.
Yeah, and a bunch of shaky cam bullshit. Which this was as far from a shaky cam bullshit movie as you could get. Like every shot was
so
like precisioned
functional,
and orchestrated, framed up, figured out,
thought out.
Yeah,
100%
tender love and care put in. And that's what I love with most of these like Blumhouse movies. They're like all passion projects.
Yeah,
and they're funded to be just that without interference from anybody else. That's why they turn out good.
Blumhouse.
Yeah. So yeah, whenever I see that it's a Blumhouse movie, I'm like, okay, well, there's a good chance that this might be worth watching.
Right.
But I knew you would appreciate the camera work with the AI.
Yeah, it was so well done.
There were moments that were meant to feel robotic when you're watching Gray move around or whatever.
Yeah.
And in the action scenes, the way the camera would tilt a lot, like if he would lean back and the camera would lean
if it was
with him.
Basically like full automated stem movements, the camera would
pick a precision point and move with the precision point.
How would you say that? Like enhance that feeling just in the camera work, which is once again always like the best when you can get the camera involved as like that third actor, basic, or you know, whatever you want to call it, like fourth actor. It's just like when you can nail shots like that. When he first got up out of his chair, that was the first time I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, I knew you would like that. But it's like, it's just like I told Matt, it's a simple tracking technique made famous-ish by Apple in their AirPod commercials, where the screen basically it's being tracked in a single location, and then the tracking keeps the frame like on the object centered. So like he stands up and like the whole camera movement is different than the shot before, and it's like forced roboticness, like the feeling of him being a robot. The only thing I didn't love about that, not the camera work, the actor did a really good job at kind of like doing that robotic movement, but then towards the end, it just felt like a little janky, just because the more he got to like losing control, the more he was just like, you know, just like awkward.
Like his own body movements trying to compete with the
like even at the very end, like the last scene, he's like walking out and he's like very robotic. That was just a little goofy. I don't really have an issue with it. It just felt goofy sometimes.
I was actually about to bring it up. Like I actually thought that was really cool. Like when his arms were like actually almost doing like the fucking like robot stuff. Well, as he was, what the hell was he doing as he stood up? Just knocking the glass off his arm? I don't know.
Probably.
But he was just like, I don't know. I actually really dug it, like the way I interpreted it.
I thought it was a little goofy, but it's okay.
When it was like Stem, that the name of the chip,
Mhm.
was in full control of him at that point, and it had put Gray away in the happiness of his own fucking mind somewhere, and then Stem was in complete control of his body. Yeah, now that Stem had full control, the way he like moved that body was so weird.
Yeah, I appreciate the difference in character because obviously the guy who the actual actor, like when he's playing Gray versus Stem, it's very different. So I do appreciate it. It just, there was like some moments where I just thought it was a little goofy. It just looked funny because it was so obvious. Like I said, I don't really have an issue with it. It was just kind of goofy in some spots.
Yeah, well, I get it.
But
I get it.
But yeah, I think everything was really well done. I want to play a guessing game. What do you think is the one actor I had the most, or the one character I had the most issue with?
The mustache villain.
No, actually.
Let me have another guess.
There's only like 4 main people in the movie.
Yeah.
Or 5 main people.
I like movies like this that aren't oversaturated with characters. The people, there's like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 like actors that actually have something to fucking do and say woven throughout the movie, but at the right times and in the right places, and no more, no less.
Right.
The detective.
Yeah. And this is just kind of me nitpicking. I think, and maybe they designed it this way. Her character felt so freaking straightforward. Like, I am a detective at all times, no matter what is happening. I am a detective. It was like, and maybe that's what the movie needed to like push itself forward sometimes. And like, I really don't have a problem with her character. It was just like, if there was one character I felt was like a little much, it was that
she
one.
was the least interesting. She was just kind of like this urgency pawn.
Yeah, it was just
in there to
super straightforward,
make things
and it was
a little more stressful and hasty.
Yeah,
gotta hurry up. The detectives are gonna get
you. But other than that, I don't think anything was like lacking. I don't think anything was really lacking in the movie. That was just kind of my nitpicky thing.
Yeah, she didn't. She wasn't good or bad. She was serviceable.
Yeah. That's like, she was a straightforward character, like they needed her to be.
Right. Like if I was reading bio cards of upgrade, if I got to her card, I'd probably just be like, and throw it aside, and then I'd be like, "Where's Mustache Man's card?" And I'd like read that fucker.
What did you think of him?
A little cartoony.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed him.
That's what I felt like. That for me, that's what I felt with the detective. It was just like so on the nose that it was like goofy.
Yeah.
But it's not that she was a bad actor or anything. It was just that like the writing was so on the nose of like what a perfect detective would be.
Right.
Like, I don't even know how to describe. Like the first time I felt it, it was like when she was looking at that drone footage of like the first time he killed somebody or the whatever time it was, and she like spots drone footage of him on his like chair going down, and she like without hesitation like puts his name into the system, and the system analyzes his profile and then spits it back to her that he's like an invalid subject of interest because of his past. Or like what the computer knows. And it was just kind of like, come on.
The computer basically just told her, hey, lady, he can't walk or move his arms.
Right.
So he probably didn't commit the murder.
Yeah. But from that point on, then it like her character was so direct in like finding something out. But once I think the reason I didn't love it that much is because the moment she thought he was like a suspect, that's the only thing she did was like trying to prove that he was a suspect. And I guess that's good detective work. Like I said, I'm probably being a little too picky about it, but
yeah,
there was like no other like there was like nothing. It was just like, ooh, he was kind of at the scene of that crime, so all my effort is to now turning this all that I know of a victim into a full-fledged suspect.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt a
Yeah.
little odd to
It's
me.
basically like, get your fucking police work straight,
Right.
lady. You're chasing a guy in a wheelchair
Right.
that's wife was killed. If he's going after the fuckers that did it, let him do
Right.
it.
Well, my thing too was
Go after some other criminal.
at that point, she had never had a reason to think he was lying about it. And like her first interaction with him is basically her asking if he's lying about being a paraplegic. And it's like, well, okay, slow your roll. That's way too direct for me. It just, that's the stuff that didn't make sense.
Yeah, I wasn't really rallying on Gray at the
Right.
end when he was trying not to shoot her
Right.
and then instead shoots himself so he doesn't shoot her.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think he actually shot himself.
well, whether he did or didn't,
Or maybe that is the shtick. I don't really get that part, but
I don't know. I just, in any case, maybe better left unsaid for since we've already spoiled the movie enough. We won't explore what actually.
4 years ago there was a movie, and we're still trying not to spoil.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're still gonna fucking enjoy it whether you know
Right.
the ending or not. So if you're one of those people that heard spoiler talk and then you shut off the podcast and ran away, well,
We're sorry.
you
No,
know,
we're not.
Well, I don't really give a fuck, but you should see the movie. But I guess if you've left, it's too late to hear that part. So the mustache guy, I was gonna make some kind of. I wanted to talk about him a little bit more,
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
for a movie that was.
Oh, you said it was cartoony.
that was doing such a good job at staying grounded and realistic. Even though he real I mean, I'm sure there's people that behave like him, but I
You know my opinion on him? He was the guy that we didn't get enough backstory of to make sense of himself,
yeah, just,
because it was just like,
he's like this mustache twirling villain.
yeah, well, because you got like little tidbits of it. It was, oh, these guys are ex-military. Oh, these guys have weird modification. Oh, this guy can spit nanobites out of his face and destroy someone's
Yeah.
brain. And the whole time he's like he
Yeah.
just felt like frick, what's that?
Insane.
Yeah, what's that? I don't, there's a cartoon character that I thought of. and
This
it's
this
just
wasn't
lost.
like a really so much an understandable villain.
Right.
You couldn't really get other than he was doing a job for
He's
money.
got a job to do.
But he was really good at chewing up the scenery. Like
Yeah.
he was an amusing villain. There's way more boring villains than this guy.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even in the movie that much, but when he was he was so creepy.
He was
that
fun though, I think.
he was fun. He was
Yeah.
creepy. He was cartoony. He always had this shit-eating grin on his face because he always felt like he was on top of the
Right.
situation.
Right. He
with his
was the
augments.
alpha at all times.
Yeah, a little man that knew he was the alpha because he had his
Arm gun.
he had his arm gun. And
Yeah.
did he have any other
Yeah,
augmentations?
remember the
Oh,
the
yeah,
nano,
that little
um,
ditty. He can breathe fucking nanobites or
yeah.
whatever.
What are they called? Nano.
These little fucking robots
Yeah.
that
Something.
fly through the air,
Yeah. And basically like
swim through the air like little,
mini knife
like
the
little
guy's brain
sperms,
to mush.
and go into your fucking nose and mouth and cut you all up,
Yeah. it
give
looked
you a painful death.
And then he's got like augmented eyes to some extent.
Oh yeah,
But I don't. Oh,
he was
he's
able to
also got that
replay-
needle finger.
Yeah, where he was able to replay someone
Yeah.
else's vision that they saw if they also had
Yeah.
the same kind of eyes.
He seemed to be the top dog in the augmentation game.
Yeah,
But
this was like
he was a little goofy.
this movie was kind of like felt like it was set in the Deus Ex universe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but like a side story.
Yep.
And I remember imagining it as that when I first
Yeah.
saw it. I was like, this is as close to a Deus Ex movie that we're gonna get, and a good one at that.
Well, that's why I said that it's not like these ideas have. So some of these ideas in the movie have been around for a while. It's not like they're new or anything. It's just the execution of
Yeah.
those ideas is like completely different level or completely different like angle on the ideas so that it makes it feel so freaking different.
I loved the groundedness
Just
of it.
everything. Yeah, I could probably mumble for an hour on just like how they took or their ability to take something that is obviously futuristic, like past our time, and like ground it in reality was just like, wow.
Mhm.
Like it just felt so good because yeah, I just didn't expect it to be that grounded. Like there's not many movies I can think of that are like, oh, this is basically a futuristic movie, but also you're not going to question much because it's so grounded in reality that it hurts.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know really how to articulate it because it's just like I said, there's like still gas vehicles. I think it's because you could kind of like see it. You could kind of see the evolution of all this stuff. It's like, yeah, weird, cool, awesome cars. Well, Teslas and other electric cars are making their way to that now, so that's not far off. Oh, an automated home. Well, we're really not that far off from that because Google can control basically anything you need it to now, or Alexa or Siri. So it's like it's like today's world that movie is grounded in today's world almost because you can see the evolution line to today.
Yeah.
And it's not so far a stretch that like, you know, nobody was like raising their arm and like a full computer was on their arm or anything like that. It was like very grounded type ideas, except for the nano thing. That was a little much.
Yeah, that was kind of pushing it a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't like somebody holding up their arm and like a rocket launcher coming out of their arm and someone doing fucking acrobatics,
right?
Throwing shield blockers,
like
up
nobody's limbs
with
like
Michael Bay fireworks
yeah.
going off in every direction,
right?
And fucking laser swords and pew pew laser guns and jumping off roofs with jetpacks and flying through the sky. It wasn't all this like crazy sci-fi nonsense. It was just everything that played out.
To Star Wars, you need. To
I knew you were going to feel dissed when I said laser swords.
Yeah, it hurt.
But
It hurt me just
Star
to hear
Wars
laser
is,
swords.
To me, even though I don't really keep up with it regularly, feels like either a home run or a complete strikeout these days.
Yeah.
But guess we'll save that podcast for another time.
But yeah, like you were saying, it was just all the technology felt like it's already here, but what you're seeing on screen is just like the expanded crazy version of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was just nice. It was just nice to see that, you know, that future made sense is, I guess, the easiest way to put it.
There's fun details in there that, you know, that add rewatch value to it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's fun to kind of immerse yourself in this futuristic world that's not too far down the road with very relatable, believable, futuristic-y things in and around the world that you can totally see or understand being there. But again, they're not diverting attention away from where you are invested in the story. Those things just kind of are there in the background, or they're used sparingly in order to, you get the fucking point. But
so basically a movie about a guy whose wife gets murdered and he gets basically a second chance at life in the future where that second chance is possible. And of course he goes after, you know, revenge. It's the revenge story. And in the end, there is, I wouldn't say the curveball is that you can't, not the him like living in a utopia world, but like the actual ending of the movie isn't like so obvious that it was kind of like, it kind of hides itself a little bit until the end, obviously till right at the end. And I think that's why they put that curveball in there, because once like STEM is explaining what he wants, then it kind of feels like, okay, it's the AI taking over the world, and it feels odd. But like they throw that curveball of the utopia for him in, and then it's kind of like, whew, I'm kind of like satisfied with this because it's so out of left field.
And they kind of played up that theme a little bit about that. I find so interesting that the fake world's more comfortable than the real one, and so you got that little glimpse of what I really dug when he visited that hacker's apartment, and there were those people in there that had VR headsets on, and they're just like, and he's like, why the fuck would these people want to do this all day and night, spend their lives in there? And she basically was like, are you kidding? Why wouldn't they? Like, look at you. Are you happy? Wouldn't you rather be living in there? Right. And he was ultimately.
Yeah. And that's, which I don't know. Thinking back at the movie now, it's almost like a second watch type of movie, because like, remember when he's like sleeping in bed and he like looks over and sees his wife, and then he wakes up like trying to grab her arm on his, like, that's complete foreshadowing to like STEM attempting to like, you know, make that change, but maybe he didn't get far enough, or you know, whatever the reasoning behind it is. But like the foreshadowing for just kind of like his end basically being like a VR or a fake world is like all over the movie, that I think, now that I think about it. But like, it's just interesting that you don't see it coming until the very, like, literally they explain it to you and you're like, wow.
It adds so many layers to the story. Because on one hand, you could say, oh, this is a movie about a guy that's wife gets killed and he gets paralyzed.
Right.
And so they put a chip in him, and then he kicks everybody's ass to get revenge. Rah. And that's the end. But it's like, but yeah, the Waluigi.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, there's a deeper level to it all, and makes you ask yourself more interesting questions.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course we would all want to go kick the ass of somebody that like hurt our family.
Right.
But would you also consider this or do this?
Right.
And once you start throwing AI into the mix, mixing it with the biology and minds and consciousnesses of human beings, then that starts posing really fucking interesting questions.
Super interesting.
And it just kind of like gives you these little eye droplets along the way of that. But again, it keeps everything fucking focused,
like super
the whole time.
Tidy.
Yeah,
it's super neat in how it's like dragging you along.
Yeah, you get to walk along a very nicely put together bridge with cool things to observe on both sides of the bridge, and enjoy the journey. And then the ultimate destination, it just feels like it all tied up well, and it was a good payoff, and everything was solid.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was. You know, usually I say solid for movies that are just like, that was worth my time, but it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen.
A bad movie to Matt is still a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I look at that like a 50% on a test.
Except for like Hellraiser.
You know, it's really good that we watched something really, really good after 2 Hellraiser movies in a row, because we needed something that was...
We needed something before we try.
I wanted to watch something that was actually decent. And I would watch Hellraiser 3.
I would watch it just to laugh.
Or cry.
Yeah. So I guess one question that I have, and then we can do the rating. But in his situation, or if you were in a situation like that, where you were given the chance and the circumstance is not the same, like it's not going to take over your mind or body in the end, but like, do you think you would get one of those chips?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not? I could.
I thought you were going to expand more on them, but I got a one-word answer.
I mean, if everybody's going to have them, and that's just kind of the way.
What if you were like the first? Would you make that attempt if you were going to like end up in basically a worse situation than attempting it?
Interesting question.
So like if you were a paraplegic and someone was like, hey, I can.
If I was a paraplegic, then yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I thought you meant
how many limbs do you have until you're like questioning to get it?
I thought you meant if I was just like a regular dude
Okay, you have
Like
one arm
now.
and one leg.
and I get to have it put in me and it makes me like faster and stronger automatically.
Right.
That's kind of more of a toughie. I don't know.
You don't think you'd do it? If you
No.
wouldn't, why not?
Because I think I would lose the satisfaction of creating my own gains. I would miss out on the journey of
Oh, very interesting.
bettering myself.
Wow. Dang.
Like if I did things that were physically exerting or whatever,
Right.
that I want to have like earned the ability to
Right.
fucking hike that mountain
Right.
or deliver those groceries really goddamn fast
Right.
or whatever I'm doing. I want that to be like my own merits and accomplishments that attributed to that,
Wow.
not some chip. And I think that would just depress me over time. Like, oh wow, I can like run and get the mail faster. Who do I have to hurry up for
Right.
in this world? Like I like
Well, what
maybe
if
I
it's
should
not just making you faster? What if it like expands your mental capabilities like in a way that you would want it to?
no.
Maybe
I
it's not anything like so broad that it's like it makes you stronger, better, faster. It's just
no,
like,
I don't think
oh
I'd
no,
mess
it
with
can-
that.
no.
I don't think so. No. What about you?
Why would you not?
I
If it was like maybe okay, let me put it to you this way: if it's not, let's say it's a proven product that has been around forever, and it's just like super super expensive, and you won a drawing, and like because you won this drawing, you get the option to have it implanted, and it's not that it makes you like super strong or super fast. It just like aids you in just kind of like in the movie where it was like he's like, oh, I got to get my fingerprints off, but how am I gonna
okay.
remember? And it's like, oh, I have a log of
it's
all
kind
the
of like a
places you
limitless pill.
yeah. So it's like just this ability to like retain information or recall information or maybe it's just easier to be you, like you're not forgetting anything, and if you do, it's there to pick up the load.
I still don't think I would do it.
Really? And why? Do you have a
thought
thought process, or you just your gut reaction is no?
I would just think if I still like if I wasn't happy about something or dissatisfied or disenchanted with my life in some way, I would probably tell myself I had this thing in me that was supposed to help me, like this, not a crutch, but like I had 2 more arms or 2 more legs,
right.
or I guess I would feel down about myself because even with the extra help of this thing, I wasn't able to obtain what
doesn't make you
wanted.
perfect.
Well, no, it doesn't have to make me perfect.
That's so interesting that's where your head goes. Like if I fail, then I'll feel extra bad because I had help.
Yeah. Well, because it wasn't because it's supposed to be like this super high tech thing that's supposed to solve most of your problems
right.
and make certain things easy that are supposed to be difficult.
Right.
And in a way, and if I still wasn't able to obtain certain things that I wanted or thought I wanted or needed, I would probably feel worse about myself that I still wasn't able to obtain those things, even with the help of this fucking super chip thing.
Oh my gosh. Even with a super advanced AI, you'd still find a way to beat yourself up over something.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
what if it took that part of you away? Do you think that would be a good thing or a bad thing?
If it took what away?
That, like, if you had this thing implanted and you were like, okay, can you tweak it so it takes my natural, like, beating myself up ability away?
Oh, Jesus.
You're like, no, I like that about me. I like mulling over my hatred.
I think more happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment can be obtained through a person's own will than can be done with the aid of any sort of chip helping you along.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's my point
even
now.
if it stonewalled certain negative feelings.
Well,
about yourself.
here's my point now. You have one of those. You carry it around in your pocket all the time.
Regrettably.
And you choose to use that. So this would just be a version of that planted in your head. And it's not like it's going to be like attached to Facebook and you're going to see Facebook, timeline scrolling in your
I
vision
hope
or
not.
nothing.
Facebook's about to get yeeted.
But I think I would do it.
I guess I would need more of like a specific
just to aid you in
spreadsheet here.
Yeah, I guess my point is just to like aid in what you need done, like whether it be
like download a
being able
language
to
or,
or like I just want to be more efficient at like at a workflow, and I'm just having a hard time for it, and then it pops in your head. It's like, oh, here's a suggestion, and like you can listen to it or not, or whatever that might be. Or like, not to go like super matrix. It's not like gonna force your body into like learning kung fu or nothing, but it's like, like, hey, I would love to learn Mandarin, and it's like, okay, here are the Mandarin basics, and it just kind of like it's there, and you don't really have to like do I think I'd do it in a heartbeat. I think if it was like a proven system, especially for like language and stuff like that, that language is such a stupid barrier to me. I can't really speak much about it because I never learned a second language, but man, if there was a way to take a pill and I could just understand any language I hear, I would do it in a heartbeat. Even if it took 10 years off my life, I'd do it. I seriously would, because I feel like language barriers are just like so brutal. It's a natural like divider between people, and I think it would just be more fun, honestly, to be able to like you ever see those videos of the guy who speaks like perfect Mandarin, or like really like ridiculous dialects in China that like no one outside of the town knows, and he'll like go into like a noodle shop and sit, and they're like standing there talking about him, picking on him because he's just like a white American guy, and then he orders in their language and they're all like, the hell is this? Like, this is crazy. But like immediately all the tension drops and they feel more respected because he can talk to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, if I could do that, if I had needed just a tiny little chip, who cares? What's that going to do to me?
But how was he able to speak this language?
He studied it.
Yeah, see, and he has the satisfaction of knowing that as he communicates his order to the person taking the order,
right,
that he worked for that.
Right.
And the person that just has it downloaded, they can stand there and be high and mighty about it.
Yeah, but you would find other ways to find that satisfaction, is my point. Just because one, like, it's like you said, like if you're over there like lifting weights and you put this chip in your head, and then like all of a sudden it's like super easy to lift weights and you lose that satisfaction, well, then you're going to find satisfaction in something that's like human nature. You're not just going to like well, I've got nothing to satisfy my satisfaction, I'm going to sit down.
Well, I don't know, because like the most satisfying things to me, at least like right now, is just like getting things accomplished. Right. So if that's doing a wedding edit and it turns out good, and send it and they love it and they're happy,
right,
then I'm happy. If I had some kind of chip that was like, I have a suggestion that would have more of an emotional impact on the couple when they watch the video, and then I just followed that and got addicted to listening to that and put it together because of the chip, then sent it to them, and the couple's like, wow, this is awesome. Then I would feel very diminished because it was done by something else. And same thing with lifting weights. Like if it
this is the part of my head,
the pain, and I could do more reps, I wouldn't feel like I earned those biceps. I would feel like,
but that would still be you.
It was
making
a crutch
the decision to do that, though. That's the interesting. Like my brain goes, oh, if there's something in my head telling me something, then that's almost indistinguishable between it's almost indistinguishable between your natural thought process and what would be like a computer generated one. You probably wouldn't know the difference, is my point. Because like,
but I would know the things in my head, and it has the capabilities of doing that. That would be like living with me forever if I was aware of it. Then I would be like, oh, was it the chip or was it me?
oh god.
I
But my point is it would be indistinguishable. It's just like, what are thoughts right now to you? What are thoughts? Do you actually think them, or do they pop in your head and pop out? You know what I mean?
Well, however the fuck I got here was
Oh, God.
by a natural means, just like everybody else.
Right.
Um,
This is not going to
you know, we all play by the same rules. We're all subjected to the same laws of physics. And if I had some sort of cheat code,
It's not a cheat code. That's not. You're thinking of it completely incorrect. I'm not saying it's a cheat code.
well, one guy studied Mandarin, the other downloaded it.
Yeah. What if you could? Okay. Okay. Well, let's put it this way. What if it aided you in studying by like enhancing your memory capacity by 50%? Like it was just easier to memorize things or something like that. Do you still think you feel bad for accomplishing something?
Look, I wouldn't have minded using that thing to get through some stupid ass tests in school
Look.
or whatever, or
Yeah.
to get through dumb shit, because
Yeah.
wherever in life you encounter like really dumb shit that's just a waste of fucking time,
Right.
I probably would let it slide on that stuff. But then I think, well, wait a minute, this painful bullshit that causes me so much misery is part of the process of breaking me down so that I could build myself back up.
Right.
So maybe this stupid bullshit that I don't want to deal with. See, here we go again. It's just like I would attribute every single goddamn thing I ever accomplished in my life to this chip aiding me to do it in some way, and then I wouldn't be able to give myself any credit for anything.
But you do
would
realize
die
you're
miserable.
still making the decision to do it, to listen to the chip. This is where my head like would separate it. Even if there was something in your head that was giving you like alternate suggestions, you would still be the one making decisions. You would have to make the decision to do what that thing says. Just like you make the decision to do what that thought that just popped your head in.
Well, see, then I'd be at a crossroads with every single thing in my life. Do I do what I want to do or what the chip wants to do?
Yeah, but but we do things in our lives because that idea pops in our head. Is that your idea?
Well, because it's in my head, it must be.
See, that's an actual like conversation because we don't really know where thoughts come from. It could be the ether behind you.
As far as I know or can tell, it's from, our experiences and encounters so far in this life mixed with hereditariness.
Hereditariness?
Uh,
Can you
mixed-
describe hereditariness, please? I'm just kidding.
I could,
I'm just kidding.
but what was the question?
There was no question.
Oh, look. Well,
I was just saying we don't really know where thoughts come from. There's no like direct shot to like there's a door in your head that opens up and that's where all the thoughts come in and out of. It's like, so if there were, my point is if there's a chip in there also, can you get a battery for this one? Might as well get 3. My point is that if there is a chip in your head, in theory, like this movie probably did it an injustice, but like the Neuralink that Elon's working on, like I would be very surprised if that thing is like in your head and just like talking to you. That doesn't make sense. What does make sense is like just a natural ability to like realize something is there. I don't know how it's going to work. Who knows how it's going to work? You know what I mean? So, oh, there goes mine. So that's what I'm saying. If there was an option almost like this. Like if you get your arm cut off, there's an option for a prosthetic arm. Or you can just leave your nub there and that's that. So like if you were having difficulties with something and Elon walked up to you and said, it's like what I said earlier, someone's like, oh, I can't hear. And Elon's like, oh, I put this chip in your head and you can, because the chip will take over that portion of the process. Like that kind of stuff, 100%, I think is doable and like a no-brainer to me, but I don't have those issues. So it would be super easy for me to say that I would do that. But if there was don't go that far over because I'm lean. If there was a chip, kind of like you said with Limitless, if there was just something you could take that would give you some type of like advantage, I feel like I would take it. I feel like that's kind of like part of evolution. Like the ones that have taken advantage of their situations are the one that are left. And that might be like a harsh way to look at it, but I don't know.
See, for some reason,
it's not cheating.
I have a little bit more of an attraction to the Limitless pill.
Yeah.
And
Because you can stop taking it.
True. With that, I remember he describes in the movie that he wasn't having any new ideas put into his mind by the pill.
Right.
They were already ideas in his head that he now was able to obtain because he was clear.
Right.
And
well, that's
that
what I
to
mean
me,
by this chip. It's not that it's like putting ideas in your head, but it's there for you to use. Because that's what like this Neuralink thing I think is supposed to be like in long term. Other than it possibly like fixing ailments or something like that. It's not like, it's not like Google in your head just chatting about turn left at the next turn because that's what it thinks you want. It's more of like, you using this tool just like you use a phone.
Well, I could definitely see myself getting on board with it if something happened where, like, let's say I had a stroke and then my mind was all fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
And I could get this thing and that would help.
Right.
Then sure. Then I could look past all that jabber I was saying earlier.
Right.
Or if I was paralyzed or lost use of one of my, in that way, then I'm down with it. That's all well and good because, life's too short to suffer this aggravated misfortune that was put upon you. But where it gets at me, where I'm not so down with it, is like when it comes to aiding you in accomplishing or creating or producing something.
Right.
But it just depends how you look at it, I guess. Like you said, like if these things were already in your DNA and you could find them somehow and it just sort of cleared the fog.
Just enhances your ability to do something. Yeah.
We could talk about it.
I just wondered. I find it interesting on people's opinions on it because like what you just said, kind of like a little bit of a rebuttal, like everything we use is something that allows us to do or like get our ideas out. Like, it's just like you saying it feels super, satisfactory to do a wedding edit or edit a video in general. And someone's like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Well, we literally could not do that without computers, right? They used to do it back in the day by cutting film together. So we would be doing that. But that's also a tool to get our ideas out. So before that, it's single frames. And then before that, it's just drawings. And then before that, it's, whatever. So like evolution allows us to see that humans have always been pushing forward for the next thing to allow them to get their ideas out. So I guess my next question would be, do you see augmentation like this being the future of like human evolution?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far do you think it'll go? Like to the point where it's like a mind in a robot? You know what I mean? Like it's basically no body parts at all anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a mind of someone
just
in a robotic
taking
skull.
taking a mind and putting it into an already built
Like
bot machine,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah,
Super bot.
humanoid.
Yeah. I suppose
Like
that
given
would,
it enough time, I guess.
I suppose given it enough time, that would be the end game of that. And for some, I guess that would be perfectly ideal.
Right.
And then you're always going to have people that are purists that won't want to get tangled up in it at all from the get-go. But I think, we're headed towards a time when it'll be popular to have some sort of augmentation enhancement.
Yeah.
Whether that be in your eyes or in your brain or in your spine or
Yeah.
wherever the hell it goes to help people with whatever. And I see it like all kinds of good things
Right.
on this like list of pros and cons.
Well,
I see tons and tons of
yeah.
good things about it.
Yeah.
People that are sick or people that can't walk on their own or people that are born with these like stupid, unfair disabilities.
Right.
Or people that have some sort of mental handicap or whatever.
Right.
You could think up all day long all the good reasons, but
Right.
I just think in our quest for paradise there, we're going to open a Pandora's box. And just like anything, there's balance.
Yeah.
And there's a good side and a bad side to all of it, and it'll be used for good reasons and bad reasons, and there will be repercussions in some aspects,
Right.
and good aspects in others. You can run wild with it, but I guess we'll see. Maybe we'll live long enough to see some of that. I'm sure.
I hope so.
The world's not getting any less interesting.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. So let's hop over to the rating sheet. Dun, 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 dun. All right.
For those of you new to the podcast, we rate movies based on our categories made by us.
Yeah.
We judge these movies
We are
with
semi-qualified.
harsh criticism based on sound and music,
Right.
rewatchability, story, characters, the aspect of do we believe it?
Which is like the universe that it was built in.
Yeah. The universe that the movie builds for itself, the rules that it sets for itself. Does it obey those rules?
Right.
Does it stay within the parameters that it sets for itself?
Yep.
And then finally, the creativity aspect, which if you watched our Hellraiser reviews, you would see that the only strong rating for those movies was given in the creativity aspect.
Yeah.
And was the only reason we're even considering watching Hellraiser 3. It was that creative the first time
So
around.
creative. It failed
In
on
a
everything
warped
else.
way.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about fucking Hellraiser today.
So we have upgrade. So to be honest with you,
Sound and music.
sound and music.
Oh,
This
we're
is
going
where
to say
we
something
start.
else.
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
Sound and music is where we start. If you want to go ahead and throw your score out,
Well,
I'm just gonna put mine down real quick.
the sounds that jump out at me are the sounds of the AI mechanics, sort
Yeah.
of the suggested sound of it moving his body around and it going, and shit like that.
Just a little stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it sounded like a little bit.
I'll change mine just a tad.
Like they were using the same sound effect over and over and over again. But I mean, is that a bad thing? Well, not necessarily. I
If
guess
it's doing the same thing,
sort of
it'll be
fucking
the
makes
same
sense. Should it
sound,
be
yeah.
a different sound every single time?
Right.
Not really. So no fault there. The music, it was kind of just like what was it? It was just basically like these two fucking noises that were
right. It was just just an ambient track.
And not a bad one. It's just
No.
but anybody could fucking do that. Get a
Right.
keyboard, set it on setting 17 and hold this key and then that key, and that's what you
Right.
got.
Right.
So,
So
it was
what would
fair.
you throw at it?
I'll give it a 7.
Okay.
And some of the kills, with the sound effects done there and the fighting,
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty solid. Those hits sounded good.
Right.
I'll give it a nice, respectable 7.
Yeah, I give it a 6 just because to me nothing stood out. The sounds that you wanted to be there were there. There wasn't anything that like made me super excited, so I would just say it's just an above par.
I'll give it a nice, respectable 7.
Rewatchability.
Well, I couldn't wait to rewatch it.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
Oh, copy. All right. Story.
Well, just to touch on the rewatchability
okay.
aspect. Well, I guess I would just say that because there was enough attention to detail and subtleness throughout the...
I'm just laughing because you're just staring at that screen like it's changing or something.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Wasn't that what it's locked on for the people watching?
No.
Oh, they can still see me?
Yeah, I have it on you right now.
Okay, well, the reason that I
You don't have to be
gave
weird
an 8
about it.
to the reason I gave an 8 to rewatchability, just because it's a cool fucking movie,
Yeah.
because it's not bogged down with a bunch of nonsense, and because it's interesting. It
Yeah.
makes you ask interesting questions. It takes place in an interesting world.
Yep.
And what would you, if you heard there was going to be an upgrade 2, would you be like, they shouldn't be doing this, or I'm
My
happy to see where they
immediate
go?
reaction is they should not be doing this. I don't want to see another one. I really don't.
It's just nice at home
Because everything was resolved. Like, what are you going to show now? You're going to show his body walking around like Terminator, killing everybody?
If there would be a sequel, I would rather it not involve this guy unless it was like really smartly
right.
done.
Yeah, but what are you going to do though? It's like, yeah,
Like you get a bunch of augmented fuckers running around
and
with their
killing
chips
each other.
and
It's
there's
just-
more STEM chips. It would have to be like upscale.
Yeah.
There'd have to be some really good ideas going on.
See,
It could be done.
I just think it just would
the way it would be done would be in a stupid ass studio way. It wouldn't be the same.
Well, here's my opinion on it. What would happen is because this, we'll look at the IMDb then, but
it would be done.
I would hope this movie
abysmally.
did really good. And what would happen is a bigger studio would pick it up for upgrade 2 and it would be done terribly.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't want even to hear anything about upgrade 2.
Yeah,
because
that's
this
why
movie
I say
was
if it was
enough for itself.
If it was done the right way, but we live in a world where things are usually done the wrong way.
Right.
And that's how this would be done.
Yeah. So rewatchability for me is kind of like everything Matt said. It was just a fun movie altogether, to be honest.
And it was
just because it was so different.
It was a little funny. Like they tried to put some
It was a
humor.
little goofy, of
They
course.
put a little humor in it.
Yeah.
Not everything landed, but
Right.
they tried to crack a few funnies throughout it.
Right.
He'd have some fucking one-liner, which a couple of times I was like, would he say that?
Right.
But it was like, I thought it was funny when he was hitting the guy in the head with the plates.
Oh yeah, and he was
just like,
oh my god, yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was good. Even the times where it felt like he stepped a little out of bounds, still wasn't like so far out of bounds that it was like, it wasn't gross or anything like that. Like
Right.
it just felt like, oh, they dropped a point for me.
Yeah.
Story. Go ahead with that one. Oh, wow. You tired?
Kind of. I will give the story an 8.
Wow. Really high.
Because I love that it stayed in its fucking lane.
Yeah.
And it didn't bog itself. It's right at home at what it was, like 100 minutes.
Sure.
So
I don't know. I don't remember.
I
off the top of my head.
appreciate a movie that doesn't overstep, that doesn't try to bog you down with a whole bunch of nonsense that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Every single scene that happened in this movie felt like it was paced right.
Yep.
Move the plot along, get you to the next thing. You're invested pretty much throughout it. I didn't feel the urge to pick up my phone and fuck around on Facebook.
Right.
I wanted to watch the movie because it was good and it stayed good.
Right.
And look, the story wasn't anything like, oh my God, this is the next greatest whatever. It was
Right.
It was simple, but it took place in a interesting world that incorporated interesting elements and posed interesting questions, as I've said, probably like 5 or 6 times.
Here's a pretty funny little IMDb comment or review. Cheap genre filmmaking done right. And then right here, basically what you said. Yeah, some of the one-liner dialogue is delivered by Logan Marshall Green feels a little bit forced, and the plot isn't exactly clever or unique, but damn it, it all works.
Yeah, if it tried
And
to
it
be
makes its
more-
own beautiful alchemy, which I'm a sucker for.
Yeah, see, if it tried to be more
Right.
than a RoboCop Death Wish
Right.
movie, then it would have lost its fun.
An hour and 40 minutes.
See, you can just pop this in when your brain is operating at about
Yep.
2% capacity that day
Yep.
and
'Cause you
still
can-
enjoy it and follow it.
Yeah, because it just holds your hands and
Yeah.
walks along.
It's not all this fucking corporate espionage. Let's exchange file folders and
Right.
look at classified documents and talk about all these stupid
So
stuff.
the budget was 5 million, and then the gross worldwide sales were just below 17 million. So it did a good job. It did fine.
Got enough money to make that sequel.
No.
No, we don't want to see it.
So characters. Now this one
So similar to the story, didn't step too far outside the boundaries, but I didn't. But see, the story, although the story stayed in its lane and was easy to follow while still being interesting and fun at the same time,
Yeah.
the characters, although they too stayed in their lane, they didn't pack quite as much a punch
Yeah.
as the story and the world building
Yeah.
and the questions they were asking. They were all like serviceable characters
Right.
to hang everything on.
Right.
And I thought they were on par.
Yep.
So I would give it a 7 for the characters.
Wow, that is a weird
I thought
thing.
say a weird thing.
You said on par. I'll give it a 7, which is
Oh.
a little high for par, but that's fine.
We didn't
Just pick
talk about what the fuck par was.
Par would be your average.
Well,
to an
yeah,
extent,
we
I
have
guess,
different
but-
ways we scale these
Um,
numbers in our heads, but
Yeah.
I thought
You're like, I loved this movie. I'll give it a 2.
I thought the main guy, I was happy that he was the main guy.
Yeah.
And nobody in this movie was really a well-known. I didn't really recognize anybody.
No, I don't think there is.
I'd
any.
seen the mustache guy somewhere else before. I think he was like a fucking mustache twirling asshole and whatever that was too. But
One trick pony, that guy. That guy.
it's a good trick though.
Yeah.
But yeah, nobody knocked my socks off in the character department so much. They just did their jobs well.
Right.
Benedict Hardy. Yeah, he looks like a Benedict. What else was this fucker in? Oh, the Invisible
Hacksaw
Man.
Ridge.
Oh, I don't know who Captain Dan. The Invisible Man is made by the same fella
Yeah.
that did Upgrade, and Invisible Man's great. I just can't think of. That's another one that I've only seen once right after it came out, and I've been wanting to watch it again.
Huh.
That'd be an interesting one to talk about for sure.
The Invisible Man.
Hmm.
Yeah, we can watch it.
But
He's been in quite a bit of stuff.
yeah, he's getting regular paychecks for acting roles for sure. But like you were saying about the detective, nobody interesting.
Yeah.
she just kind of
She did.
put you on alert mode, like,
She did her job. Is basically the easiest way
yeah,
to
he's
say
going after the baddie, so someone's got to be going after him while he's going after them.
it. Right. Do you believe it?
All right. Well, because this film had such a tall order of making itself believable in a lot of situations that you would think of as unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, a night. Wow, look at you.
Well, I'll just do this just for the heck of it. So
I'll
while
give it a
he's
9.
okay,
That's what my gut reaction.
I don't want to give it a 10 because a 10 is just like one of those things where I don't think anything can be a 10. Or if it's a 10, it really has to blow me away. This didn't do. I wouldn't say this like blew me away to the extent that like I'm never gonna see a movie that does this again. So that's why I'll give it a 9.5. But like, man, they couldn't have done much more different to make it better.
Mhm.
Like they just nailed me believing in this universe.
Yeah.
Like I kind of said before, there was just like a couple character things that were a little goofy that were just kind of like, all right. But that's like with every movie. It's not this one specific. But yeah, I just believed it. There was no reason for you not to. Like we mumbled and grumbled on for probably 40 minutes. It was so grounded and so believable in that aspect.
Yeah. It's like we kept looking for it, like, where's the part of this that's going to be not so believable? But no, again, it stayed within its bounds that it established for itself.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're talking about futuristic movies and guns in people's arms and chips in people's heads,
yep,
you know, things can get pretty unbelievable pretty fast. But the fact that it had the ability to do it and execute it in such a way,
right,
where that was really impressive in that regard. So a 9 and a 9.5, well deserved,
very well deserved,
and that might be the highest score in any category
for Do You Believe It?
For Do You Believe It?
Especially Do You Believe It?
Yeah, and this would not have been the movie though.
Yeah,
initially, but just by hearing the synopsis, you would have thought.
So go ahead and let us know what your creativity is.
I'm gonna give creativity. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Go on.
I don't really know what to say much more than the camera work.
Yeah,
was just really cool to watch, as the camera felt like it was in sync with the AI and its movements at times. And then that's just in terms of camera work. And then speaking for all the other camera shots, it was just adequately and competently made and well thought out and well cared for.
Yep.
Didn't do anything to make me like, you know, melt in my chair, but that I would give it like a 9 or a 10. But just like a very respectable, it's just such a fucking well-rounded in all categories movie.
Yeah, so I went ahead and gave it wrong screen. Gave it an 8 as well. Because kind of like I said before, these ideas aren't necessarily new. It was just the execution of those ideas was just like top notch. And that's why, to me, the Do You Believe It is 9.5. Because I feel like kind of like what you said. What did you say? It's Blum Studios? Blumhouse, that's right. If like any other studio was like had a hold of this, I don't think I would have believed it correctly. But the execution was like top notch. That's why I believe it. But
Yeah.
the ideas have been around. It's not like they're brand new ideas. So the creativity super high in taking ideas that we already know or have heard and then presenting them in a way that it just feels cool and cool, grounded, new-ish, but just they made so much sense in this form. And that's why it's not really any lower, any higher, because it's taking something old it's not necessarily
Doing
new
something
by
fresh
itself,
with it.
but yeah. So my score 7.4, Matt's score 7.8, with a total score of 7.6 stars out of 10. So
This is very much in our realm of
Yeah.
the kind of movies we enjoy and look for.
this is one of the higher rated movies we've done, that's for sure. So 7.6. I would totally watch this again, kind of like the score show. I would suggest this to anybody who likes any type of action or kind of like thinker movies. I wouldn't say this is thriller by any means. But if you like action and like a thinker type of movie,
Yeah.
possibly. And I would say it's simple thinker. It's not like kind of like what you said earlier. You don't have to like put your thinking hat on to like understand it.
Right.
But
And I think some people would
it's
call
fun
this
in
like a
that way.
science fiction movie,
oh
but it's
yeah.
but it's really
100%.
like not that far off
right.
from being fiction, because it feels so like this could be tomorrow. We're going to wake
Right.
up and we're going to be 50 and
Right.
this is going to be the world.
This is just how it's going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was brilliant.
It was well-rounded in all categories while exceeding in a few.
Right. So,
And
got
that
any
makes it-
last words?
Well, it's just well worth your time if you're still here. Then and we gave a few spoilers, but never mind that. We haven't spoiled everything.
No.
Not,
It's still fun to watch even if you've listened to
Yeah.
all of this.
yeah. And it's so like a lot of this shit's like so ambiguous the way we describe it. Like,
Yeah.
you'll have your own interpretation.
Yeah, it's
of it,
through
so-
our lenses. So just remember that because our lenses are crooked and weird to begin with. But
Mm.
in saying all that, we will say goodnight to everyone.
Good night.
Like always, please comment and subscribe and send us money so we can do this forever and ever and ever. And in saying all of that, everyone have a great night. And we will see you next time,
Don't
I guess.
forget to upgrade yourselves
Goodbye.
every day.
Him next tonight.
Tomorrow, no, what's this? But I have it half on your side.
You're out to your desk. You're out to your head.